When Carson Hocevar is on the racetrack, he's exciting.
He's electrifying, man. I would love to see Felipe Nasr in IndyCar. He's on Penske's books. He has been for years. I want to see him in an IndyCar.
That's a loaded question.
I believe there's a simple mantra we can all follow. Don't be a
The one that concerns me the most is Ford. Joey Logano got lapped 3 times.
We just offended loads of people unintentionally, so sorry for that.
Hello and welcome to Speed with Harvick and Buxton.
Let's talk racing.
Welcome to Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet.
Let's talk racing, Will.
As we do every week, my friend. And let's start by flying through everything that happened in the world of racing in Hot Topics. And we start in the NASCAR Cup Series at Darlington. Tyler Reddick's dominant start to the season rolled on as he overcame an early alternator issue, ran without his cool suit, and still powered his way to his 4th win in the last 6 races. The pole sitter showed incredible pace and composure, making the race-winning move on Brad Keselowski with 28 laps to go and never looking back. And all while navigating a new rules package designed to put the race back in the driver's hands. Reddick now holds a commanding lead in the championship standings as Michael Jordan's 2311 Racing continues to fire on all cylinders. Kevin, when a guy's winning like this and doing it through adversity, what does that say about both the driver and the team right now?
Well, you've been around this long enough. You can't beat fast cars, and Tyler Reddick has stepped up to be able to deliver, to capitalize on those fast cars. And right now, the confidence that this team has, you see in the situations when they're overcoming things like they did this weekend once again. So confidence and speed are hard to beat.
If they hadn't had the setbacks, would they just have walked away with this? Like, what's making the difference right now for them?
Well, you talk about the new rules package, and I think if he didn't have the problem, I do think he walks away with the win. I think that those guys were in a league of their own, really from the time that they dropped the green flag for practice straight into qualifying and right to the start of the race. So, I think we're probably sitting here talking about a different tune of how the race went if Reddick doesn't have those problems. So for us, it was a great show and gave us a lot to talk about because of the fact that they had to go to the back, had to change the battery and do all the things that they did.
Well, mate, it was a big weekend across the NASCAR ladder, as you well know, in Darlington. And Justin Allgaier used strong pit stops and late race muscle to grab the win in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, his 2nd of the season, extending his points lead to 52 over Jesse Love. Meanwhile, in the Truck Series, Corey Heim stunned Ross Chastain with a last lap pass to secure back-to-back wins at the track and continue strengthening his position in the championship fight. Kevin, a lot going on there. And late, what stood out to you?
Well, when you start with Allgaier, I think that the big thing is they put themselves back on the map to say, hey, we have a new crew chief, we have a new team. And I just, I think when you can beat Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and a lot of the guys that were in that field by just doing all the small things right. And Allgaier has been in the O'Reilly series for several years now. And I think that they have served notice that they're going to be there all year. So great run for him. But the one that impressed me the most this weekend was Corey Heim. He came to Darlington as a part-time driver in every series. And in my book, he's one of the best young talents on the circuit. And just no openings for him this year on the Cup side. But that late race run that Corey Heim put on and to go and pass Ross Chastain in the last corner of the event was pretty spectacular. So Corey Heim proved it again, and it was Heim time when the race was over.
In MotoGP, Marco Bezzecchi dominated in Brazil to take the Grand Prix win, while Marc Marquez claimed victory in the sprint. The championship's return to Brazil, however, will likely most be remembered for the condition of the track, which saw a hole appear in the straight and the surface break apart during Sunday's shortened Grand Prix. 2 wins, though, to open the season. Bezzecchi leads the championship by 12 points. Kevin, when a guy gets on a run like that, how does the rest of the field respond?
Well, I think this is a great way to kind of summarize the racing world at the beginning of a season. And I think when you look at Bez and everything that he was able to do, it's very similar to Tyler Reddick and his 2311 team. Yeah. But when you look at Aprilia and the way that those results wound up on Sunday, there's some early season momentum in really figuring everything out before everybody else. And when you have a rider of that caliber to be able to take advantage of that, he's done that a couple weeks in a row. So could be a long season, or at least the start to a season for everybody else.
Yeah, mate, possibly a long season for everybody else. Meanwhile, in NHRA, there was drama in the desert as Ron Capps powered to his 78th career funny car victory after surviving a massive engine explosion earlier in eliminations. While in Top Fuel, it was Sean Langdon continuing his dominance in Phoenix with a 3rd straight win at the track. Dallas Glenn took Pro Stock honors with a razor-sharp performance in the heat, and in Pro Mod, Justin Bond completed a remarkable comeback victory just weeks after breaking his ankle. During the week-long break in Formula One, Max Verstappen was back in action, this time though competing in the LLS Endurance Series, where he and his teammates initially took victory before being disqualified for exceeding tyre allocation. Over in endurance racing, Felipe Nasr held firm in a late race standoff with his Penske teammate to give Porsche Penske Motorsport victory in the 12 hours of Sebring, after also taking the win at Daytona to start the year. Hats off also to AF Corsa and Antonio Fuoco, who overcame multiple late race penalties to take an astonishing win in class. In World Rally Raid, it was Sebastian Loeb and co-driver Edouard Boulanger who claimed victory in Portugal, a result that moves them into the championship lead as the 9-time WRC title-winning legend continues to make his mark in another discipline. In Birmingham for round 10 of Supercross, it was Hunter Lawrence who controlled the race from the front to take the win and extend his championship lead, continuing his strong run at the top of the 450 standings. In Formula E, Antonio Felix da Costa took victory in Madrid from his teammate Mitch Evans, who fought from 16th to 2nd in what was a great race. Pascal Wehrlein still leads the standings from Edo Mortara and the Jaguar duo. Off the track, Audi F1 confirmed team boss Jonathan Wheatley will depart, with reports linking him to Aston Martin, as Adrian Newey apparently is preparing to step back into a more technical leadership role. And finally, a moment to reflect as the sport mourns the passing this past week of Jim McCallion, founder of the Long Beach Grand Prix. Under his watch, the race became one of the most well-loved, not just in American, but in international racing. Jim was well-loved throughout the racing world and will be deeply missed. And that is the latest from across the racing world. But there's plenty more to come here on Speed.
Hey, Speed fans, this show is fueled by Poet. Poet's zero-carbon bioethanol gives NASCAR drivers the octane they need with zero carbon intensity. When it comes to performance, you can't beat zero. Learn more at poet.com.
Okay, now let's dig a little deeper into the topics we are fired up about. And Kevin is fired up first with Under the Hood with Harvick. And I will follow, as always, with Buxton's breakdown. Mate, we've had a good sample size now to start the NASCAR Cup Series season. And Darlington, I think, again, gave us a clear look at where everyone stands, particularly at the top. What have you learned in particular about this field so far, and who's really separated themselves?
Well, it's very clear that the 2311 team has the speed on top of everybody else right now in the series. But I think in general, Toyota seems to have the cars to beat. You look at the 2311 cars and the Joe Gibbs Racing cars, they've been consistently the fastest cars on the circuit. I think the other things that are really interesting for me is Hendrick Motorsports and the whole Chevrolet camp. We saw the Spire cars that were the top 2 Chevrolets this weekend with Carson Hocevar and Daniel Suarez, which is not what we would expect. We would expect Kyle Larson to be contending for the win. We go to Las Vegas last week. The Gibbs cars make some mistakes and give themselves, put themselves a little bit behind early in the race. That gave those Hendrick cars a little bit of a chance to kind of take control of the race. But We never saw those Chevrolets up front this week. They've got a new body this year that seems to have thrown them for a little bigger loop than I think everybody anticipated as far as the balance goes on the race car. And with all the new rules and all the things that are happening in the Cup Series with lower downforce, more horsepower at a lot of these racetracks, it seems that they are going to take a little bit longer to wrap their arms around everything. But I don't know that any of us saw Spire Motorsports being where they are on the Chevrolet side. We've seen the Trackhouse cars, and really SVG finished 14th again this weekend, just solid as he goes forward. And Suarez being in that Spire car has really exposed, kind of where those cars are. So not only did it expose that, but it also exposed an internal beef that we've seen with Suarez and Chastain that obviously has some lingering effects from the previous in-house walls of Trackhouse Racing and those guys having a little disagreement. But the one that concerns me the most is Ford. Ryan Blaney has been the standout for Ford, and I think this weekend we saw the RFK cars kind of take control of Darlington. Brad Keselowski qualified well. We've been talking about Brad needing to qualify better, was able to score points this weekend in both stages, contend for the win late until Reddick showed back up at the front. So he and Chris Buescher probably had two of the best three Fords, including Blaney. Joey Logano got lapped 3 times this weekend, and that is not something that I thought that I would ever say unless he had a problem. But he legitimately got lapped 3 times, and both of his teammates ran in the top 10 all day. Austin Cindric finishing 7th. So a lot of questions of things that have slowly started to be answered as far as where the performance of each manufacturer is. But 2311 clearly has the fastest cars right now.
So is it just that 2311 have got their heads around these cars, the package? Because there've been changes, obviously, going into 2026. And for those who are maybe new to NASCAR, like me, or maybe just as a refresher, as an explainer, like how big are these changes? And how much do you think that's leading towards 2311 just maybe having understood something that the others haven't? Or is it something completely separate to that? Is this an effect of the new regulations, or is it something else?
Well, the interesting part is for the super speedways, we've not changed anything. For the 1.5 mile racetracks, we really haven't changed anything. And so last week at Las Vegas, where everything was the same on the 1.5 mile racetracks, we saw Denny Hamlin go back to victory lane just like he did last October. 2311 cars not really a contender as far as winning the race at Las Vegas last week. Now, fast forward to Darlington, more horsepower, less downforce. I believe that they have hit the balance a little bit better at Darlington than everybody else. But when we've had a sample size, we've had a road course, we've had 2 super speedway races with Daytona and Atlanta, and our new short track package, and they've been good on all of them. I think that 2311 just has less going on this year, and they're still a pretty young team. And I think that when you have that stability of everything that is going on, I think the Toyota has the best car right now. And Tyler Reddick has stepped up from a maturity standpoint, just in his leadership of the team, really exposing who he is as a driver and the capability that he has. And when you have that confidence and you see the reward for your efforts like Tyler Reddick and that 2311 team are seeing, that's just gonna steamroll and snowball into more and more confidence. And when you get as well as anybody, when you get confidence in this sport as a driver and a team, that can overcome a lot of things, just like it did this weekend for the 45.
Oh yeah, that positive spiral can be everything. But on the flip side, negative spiral. When you look at a guy like Kyle Busch, where do you feel that he and that team are at?
Oh, that's a complicated one. I think when you look at Kyle Busch, one of our sport's greatest drivers that we've ever seen behind the wheel, and I think this Gen 7 car, when he first went to RCR, they won a couple races right off the bat, and ever since halfway through that first year at RCR, it's slowly deteriorated. We all want to see hope for Kyle Busch. We want to see him in victory lane. We want to see RCR in victory lane. But they don't have the speed. You can see the frustration. This is a contract year for Kyle Busch, And I'm a little worried as to how this whole thing ends with Kyle Busch and RCR. So a lot of pressure on Kyle to go out and perform. And right now, they just have no performance on the racetrack.
On that flip side, though, who stands out to you as a team that's really exceeded expectations? I mean, we talk about 23XI pretty much every week and the job that they're doing. But aside from the obvious, aside from them, who's exceeding those expectations?
That has to be Spire for me. When Carson Hocevar is on the racetrack, he's exciting. He makes
he's electrifying.
He's electrifying, and he makes a lot of people mad, but he doesn't care. And now he's got the cars that are capable to go up there and consistently put himself in the front of the racetrack. And I think from a performance side, the side we expect Hocevar to go fast. At Darlington, maybe we don't expect him to do what he did this weekend because he still makes some mistakes, but I think he's slowly putting some of those mistakes in the past and starting to finish the hard races like Darlington this weekend. But the one that sticks out the most to me is Daniel Suarez, and he really backs it up for Spire to be able to put themselves in the front of the field as a contender week in and week out, because he's been so consistent, and that's a very new situation for Daniel, Spire, and that team. So putting a lot of pressure on Michael McDowell to kind of pick up the pace of that 71 car, but the 7 and 77 car of Suarez and Hocevar have done a fantastic job to start this season.
Who surprised you the most this year, be it from a positive or a negative perspective?
Oh, I think the biggest surprise to me is just where the Chevrolets are from Hendrick Motorsports. I don't know that we've ever gone this far into a season and them not being in contention to win these races by dominating an event so far. When we go to Martinsville next week, I think you have to expect them to be in contention. But I think that on paper, the new Chevrolet, everybody thought it was better. And the reality of the situation is getting the balance right on this Gen 7 car is very difficult to do. And they just haven't wrapped their arms around exactly what that needs to be yet on all these different styles of racetracks. So I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen a Hendrick Motorsports car dominate a race and go to victory lane yet.
It's a fascinating, absolutely fascinating start to the year, and I love the fact that it's not going down an expected path.
Well, and that's very typical for a new season. I think that sometimes you can predict and guess, and until you get those cars on the racetrack and see exactly what they have, you never know what the real story is. But what's happening off the racetrack, Will?
Well, I mean, it affects NASCAR, not necessarily Cup, but obviously during last week was the news that Daniel Dye was suspended by NASCAR following comments that he'd made in a live stream. But his suspension is perhaps not in itself the bigger picture that I want to talk about here. NASCAR has long policed conduct, and drivers have faced penalties before. But what makes this moment, I think, worth examining a little deeper is what it says about the kind of ecosystem surrounding modern sport and how sports stars and fans use and interact with social media. We're living in an age where the concept of a platform has outgrown its original meaning. For athletes, celebrities, public figures, a platform's no longer just a podium or a press conference. It's a permanent global microphone. And with that reach comes responsibility, not just the kind enforced by sports governing bodies, but the deeper obligation to understand the influence that you wield. Figures like Dye are competitors, but they're also participants in a cultural feedback loop. Their words directly affect the behavior of those who follow them. When they engage carelessly, they don't just risk their own reputations, they help set the tone for thousands and sometimes millions of interactions that then follow. And those interactions can and often do turn dark. That same digital environment that allows fans unprecedented access also enables unprecedented abuse. A recent report showed a year-on-year 30% rise in online abuse and threats made towards male athletes in 2025, with abuse aimed at women in sport still, by some margin, by far the larger share of the problem. Formula One in particular has had a fandom which all too easily and all too often has descended into extreme reaction. After the Chinese Grand Prix, Esteban Ocon was subjected to a wave of online abuse, including death threats, after an on-track incident with Franco Colapinto. Last season, Jack Doohan received verifiable threats to his life as he fought to save his career. INDYCAR driver Callum Ilott received death threats a few years ago after a racing altercation with Agustin Canapino. It happens all too often, and for some unfathomable reason appears to have become normalized, dismissed simply as passionate fans venting. But it doesn't feel like that when it's aimed at you. I've had it. And when your job is to form opinions, look, you're never going to be universally popular. But over time, the tone darkened. Disagreement turned into heated anger, became personal. Abuse in the open became a barrage of direct messages filled with the stuff people didn't want to put on their public profiles. And that's where the death threats lurk. The ones you take seriously. The ones that are aimed not just at you, but also at your loved ones. And what world is threatening the safety, the life of an athlete, a broadcaster, how anyone with whom you disagree, a proportionate response to seeing things differently? That kind of behavior doesn't emerge in a vacuum. It's cultivated in an online culture where the individual exists in a bubble of confirmation bias, where you follow only the accounts that reflect back to you the opinions you already hold, where you're never forced to confront different viewpoints and thus never move to question the basis of your own beliefs. Life becomes black and white, right and wrong. Positions become entrenched. I was raised to believe life was most interesting in the grey, that growth only occurred through debate and discourse, to question and be questioned, to seek always to learn, and to be open to that learning changing the fundamentals of who I was. The internet was supposed to free us, right? To give us the entirety of mankind's collected learnings at our fingertips, allow us to learn and evolve and be the most informed generation in history. Somewhere between that golden ideal and videos of cats playing the piano, we somehow descended into a social media reality where harshness is rewarded, empathy is optional, and accountability, what accountability? There's a direct line, uncomfortable but undeniable, between the tone set by public figures and the behavior exhibited by the public. None of this absolves individuals of responsibility. The fans sending abuse are accountable for their actions, but influence flows downward. If those with the loudest voices show greater care, it has a stabilizing effect. It reminds everyone watching that intensity need not come at the expense of decency. Too often, that responsibility is dismissed under the banner of the supposed woke attacking free speech. But freedom of speech has never meant freedom from consequence. It protects your right to speak without censorship, but it does not insulate you from the reactions of employers, governing bodies, sponsors, or the public, nor in the case of hate speech and threats from prosecution. When Dye crossed the line NASCAR deemed to be unacceptable, the sanction wasn't an attack on his rights. It was an organization, a team, and sponsors enforcing standards in a professional environment. So Dye's suspension should be seen not as an isolated disciplinary matter, but as a moment for reflection, not just for drivers, but for anyone with a platform, athletes, commentators, politicians, and yes, fans. The question is not whether you have the right to say something. The question is whether you should, and what happens after you do. And yet focusing solely on Dye risks missing the wider issue. His case is a symptom of a broader cultural drift, a steady erosion of decency and etiquette in how we interact with each other online. I believe there's a simple mantra we can all follow, whether online or in the real world, to keep us on the right path and a path of just general decency, tolerance, and understanding. And it's this: don't be a dick. Sounds simple, because it is simple. So before you speak, before you post, ask if it passes that one simple test. Don't be a dick. Trust me. It's that easy. I'm glad I got that off my chest, mate. I've been wanting to say something like that for a while. And I think the Daniel Dye thing and the Esteban Ocon thing, last week, and the abuse and the threats, they're linked, and it's something you never like to see, right? Because we're all fans of racing, and you just want people to love the thing that you do. But ultimately, I think there's a deeper responsibility, particularly for those that we look up to behave in a certain way.
Being a professional athlete, professional race driver is as hard as it's ever been. You bear the responsibility of representing your sport, your family, fans, people, and it is the absolute hardest thing to teach a young driver in today's world, because of the fact that you are responsible for your actions. And what may seem fun and may seem liked by the small group of people that you're around can be unacceptable in many ways. And I think that if you have to think about that tweet, or if you think it's a post on whatever platform it is, if you have to think about it, delete it. And that is always the method that I have gone through. And I think that if I have an opinion, I want people to know about it. And it's not personal. It's not anything that should be taken personally. It's just how I think. I love to hear other people's opinion and that debate that goes along with it. But with the platforms and the outlets and the way that our world works now, as a professional driver and athlete, you have to be very responsible and very careful of the things that you do and things that you say, because you represent a number of people. So it is the hardest thing to teach young people how to do.
And look, we're all guilty of it. I know I look back on some of the things that I might have posted in the past or things I've said in the past, and I cringe at it. And you're right, had I just taken the time and thought it through and not tweeted it back in the day, it would have been a much better thing. And had I simply asked myself that same question of, is this making me a bit of a dick? Then I would have not posted it. And I didn't think it through, and we've done it. But I think if you can look back on your past and cringe, that is a good thing, because it shows growth, and it shows that you've learned from mistakes you've made in the past and move forward and evolve. And I think that's important. What you say about young people and learning to deal with, being figures of respect and in a position of authority and influence, I think it's a really interesting one. It's something that you and I discussed with Mick Schumacher and with Connor Zilic the other week, about how they deal with being so young and being in that position. And it's something I wonder whether it's people of our generation who haven't grown up in a social media world, who are having to learn to deal with that and the fact that everything is on display now, or if it's harder for the youngsters growing up with it, or if they're automatically kind of immune to it. But I feel that they're not, even though they've grown up in this world of where everything is broadcast. The kind of the disassociation that actually this does go around the world and it's global. And once you've said it, the internet is written in ink. It's not written in pencil. You can't just erase it. Once it's done, and it stands forever, because someone somewhere has always got a receipt. But being so young and having to learn that and learn the responsibilities that you have to your sponsors, your teams, your championship, it is hard, and I can't imagine, how difficult that is, but it's something they have to learn, and they have to learn fast because of the responsibilities that they hold to teams and sponsors.
And, I think that the thing that with the management company that we try to explain to our drivers is 100,000 followers isn't going to change your life. Just because you had one controversial good post or something that you think is different or fun or disrespectful or whatever you're going for, it isn't going to make your car go faster. And doing the things right may seem boring at times, but in the end, you're here to, whether you're trying to be the fastest runner, or you're trying to throw the football the farthest, or you're trying to drive the car the fastest, a substantial amount of likes on one tweet or one post isn't going to make your racing career better. You develop that personality from performance, and that is what I have always tried to focus on. How do I become a better race car driver? There is an extreme amount of pressure for people to post things and do things. And in the end, sitting on Fox is going to do way more for you than making a post on X. The power of performing well on Sunday or Saturday or whenever your race event is going to have way more impact on your brand than one post that might be edgy or controversial. So it's hard because the kids, as they grow up, it's like, oh man, I got this many likes, or look who followed me, or this or that. And in the end, that's not going to make you a faster race car driver and make more people like you. It's just it's a tough balance.
Yeah, and the ones who endure, the ones who have the longest careers, they've all got one thing in common, which is people liked working with them. And that led to a lengthy career. And that came from being, a good person and treating people well. And I think for all of us, because social media can play to the negatives too easily. It can play to reaction and extreme views. There's nothing wrong with being a decent person and being
Don't
a nice
fall into the
person
trap. Do not fall into the trap. It is a trap.
They say treat people the way that you'd like to be treated yourself, and that again is a simple mantra to follow. Right, it's time now to bring you into the show. You can reach us at Speed on Fox across social media, or drop us a voicemail. And I know a lot of you have this week at 213-534-7107. And when you do, as always, let us know your name and where you're tuning in from. And guess what, folks? Big news. The bobbleheads have arrived at Fox Studios. So you will you will be getting your bobbleheads in the post. This is not my actual office. We're moving house next week. We've been renting for 6 months. First thing going on my new shelves, the bobbleheads. I can't wait. Right. First question this week is a voicemail. Let's have a listen.
My name is Richard Tepper, and I'm from the Dallas area in Texas. As you know, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia are canceled for this F1 season. What track in the United States would you pick to replace those two if magically you could replace them within a 1 month span?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, I love Watkins Glen. I love its history from F1 a long time ago. I think it has the facility, the fan base, and I think it would be a great event. And the other one that I love that's probably not as clean and straight cut as Watkins Glen is Road America, because the one time that I have been to Road America, you've got 100,000 fans standing in the woods all the way around this racetrack. It's challenging. It's, the course is long. It's got high speeds. It's got elevation. So for me, it'd be Watkins Glen and Road America.
I promise you, the F1 drivers would cry about the state of the curbs at Road America and would probably refuse to go out and practice, which is precisely why they should go and race at Road America. I'd love to see F1 cars at Road America. I think the Glen is a great shout. I think, it ended so poorly last time because of the controversy around the race in which 6 cars took place. But I'd love to see F1 go back to Indianapolis. Indianapolis has such a huge heart for all forms of motorsport. I would love to see F1 back on that infield circuit and racing around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I think that would be great in that month break. But what I'd actually like more than anything is to have another IndyCar race in that month break. And that month that Formula One's taken off, get another IndyCar race in there. So we've got 2 in April rather than just the one at Long Beach, and maximize the time that F1's not racing for IndyCar in the States. But yeah, if F1 was going to race anywhere, I'd do. I'm with you on Road America, mate. 100%. It's 100%. Right, voicemail number 2.
Hi, Kevin and Will. This is Patrick from Kansas. Do you think it's easier or harder for drivers in the present who want to go from one type of race car to another to be able to smoothly transition between them? And do you think more series embracing things like independent suspension layouts, a bigger focus on aerodynamics, or even hybrids in some cases affect that process?
That's a loaded question. Yeah.
You take it.
I'll answer it from the driver's perspective. I think it's as hard as ever to go from one discipline to the other. I think that, and we've talked to many of the drivers about specializing in what you do but it's the time that it takes to spend with your team, to spend in the simulator, to do all the promotions and things to go do and be good at one specific division. I think that you look at somebody, well, let's look at Max Verstappen, going and doing the sports car racing from F1, obviously is successful in the sports car side of it and has been successful on the F1 side of it. I think that Kyle Larson does a great job going from NASCAR to sprint cars to O'Reilly to trucks, whatever he races, he figures it out. So yeah, Indy 500. So he's got so many things in his resume, but I think if you're going to do that, you got to do it a lot so that you can go practice the car, race the cars. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to run 100 races a year like Kyle does in order to be very good at it. So when I was doing 70, 80 races a year, I wanted to go practice. I wanted to be good at those divisions. And I think that that's the fear that a lot of these guys have is when I go to a different series, whether it's independent suspension, whether it's a INDYCAR, F1 car, whatever the different style car is, going over to NASCAR, totally different driving styles. But I think when you look at somebody like SVG, who's not scared to do it and knows that and has the confidence in their driving ability to go just figure it out, I think there's a lot of them that could actually do very well crossing over into other series.
I think it's a fascinating question. And, we look back to the halcyon days of the 50s, the 60s and the 70s when there was so much transitioning between different championships, and you'd have a Foyt or an Andretti or a Sterling Moss who'd just go and race anything, anywhere, any weekend and could do it. And we'd love for that to be the case. And we'd love for that to be true today. But as you said, and through all the drivers that we've interviewed so far this year, they all talk about having to make a decision about their career at a very early point in their career and then specialize in that one particular area because it's so specific nowadays. Because open wheel and Formula One is very different to open wheel and IndyCar, is very different to, racing in IMSA or the World Endurance Championship, never mind following a completely different path to go down sprint cars towards, a path that will take you to NASCAR and be that trucks or O'Reilly or up to Cup. You're taking a multitude of different paths. Could you try and do it all? Yeah, but then you've got the fear of jack of all trades, master of none. Do you just want to focus on that one thing and be the best that you can possibly be at that? And I think that's just because of the specific nature of racing nowadays. That's kind of, that's where we're at. It's a shame, but ultimately it's where we're at.
The other thing that you want to do is you want to go into a car that's fast. So finding a car that's fast enough at a high level in a different series so that you can learn from the best drivers and the best team and have the best data and engineers and all those things, hard to come by because of the fact that all those teams are racing for a championship. So as a winner in another series, you want to go to a car that is capable of winning, and those situations are hard to come by.
Voicemail number 3.
Hello, Will and Kev. It's Tegan in Ohio. Please make a Mount Rushmore of the most iconic paint schemes of all time.
Well, I attempted this, and I'm just going to go back to my Mount Rushmore is what I remember as a kid. It's not anything that I drove or raced against. And so here's what I came up with. The Penske Marlboro Indy cars. I always thought those were iconic Indy cars.
That Marlboro livery transferred across whatever they were sponsoring. So the McLarens in Formula One, the Penske's in IndyCar, wherever that livery was, in that very kind of luminous orangey pink and the white, like that livery, iconic. That is big tick. I think there's zero arguments anywhere in the racing world that's on Mount Rushmore.
So another one for me as a kid was Ivan Stewart's Toyota off-road trucks. They raced in stadium trucks. They raced in Baja, but that was just one of those series and brands that I followed as a kid. The third one for me, it's hard to beat Ferrari Red and everything that they have done so consistently through the years. The last one was a little more difficult for me. I grew up a huge Dale Earnhardt Sr. fan and that black Goodwrench car, but I'm not sure that it's more iconic than the STP Richard Petty brand. and everything that he did through the years. So I had to go with Richard Petty and those STP paint schemes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And when you're looking at those colors, you've got to think of the Gulf oil Porsches from the 70s at Le Mans. That's a dreamy livery. That is an absolutely dreamy livery. I want to think about the Martini liveries in the World Rally Championship, back in the 80s. Beautiful liveries. Same vein, going for an old NASCAR livery, Jeff Gordon's, rainbow multicolored livery, the iconic, Jeff Gordon color scheme, that just screams NASCAR to me. If I think of a NASCAR, that's it right there, the multicolored scheme. Ferrari, is that a livery or is it just a color? It's just red, man. It's just red. That's like saying,
you know exactly what it is, though.
I know exactly where you're coming from. Similar vein, Jordan in F1, their first livery is widely regarded as one of the greatest F1 liveries of all time, and it's basically just green. It's the 7-Up Jordan livery, absolutely beautiful. And I think because the Jordan 191 was such a beautiful car as well, a lot of people kind of pinpoint that as a really classic. Absolutely classic livery. People will be very sad if we don't point out the JPS Lotus, obviously. But the Sunoco Penske livery, again, if you're looking back through time, just one that stands out as being something absolutely beautiful. And then IndyCar for me, Target, the classic Ganassi liveries, even sort of, the Zanardi era, the red with the yellow kind of flash down the side. Just uber cool. So, man, like I could sit and talk liveries. They don't make the cars go faster, but they don't make them stick in your mind forever.
You remember most of those cars because they won, though. And usually the cool paint schemes that last forever come with the cars that win. And most of those that we named did a lot of winning.
That's it. Was it Enzo Ferrari said a beautiful race car is a fast race car, or a car becomes beautiful when it wins, something like that. Right? Should we pick our favorite question?
I think for me, it's probably the paint scheme ones, because there's just so many great paint schemes in all the different divisions that lived through the years. So that would be my pick.
Tegan in Ohio, bobbleheads coming to you. From what I've learned from the 5 or so weeks that we've been doing this show, if you want to guarantee yourself a bobblehead, ask us to create a Mount Rushmore of anything, and you will probably win, because that's one of those questions that really gets you thinking, and it takes you to that place of like happiness and memory. Love that. That's great. Now it's time to see the best racing setups from the weekend, from wherever you've been watching, whether at the track or at home. Garrett from Lawndale, this is yours.
Wow.
And that is our favorite this week. That is a setup, right?
That is a lot of diecast, and that we would categorize wherever this, Garrett, you are a hardcore fan. You win.
Love that. Garrett, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Keep those questions coming to us at Speed on Fox on social media, or give us a call on the voicemail at 213-534-7107. And when you do, as always, let us know your name and where you're tuning in from, and we will get in contact with you if you have won the bobbleheads. Right, moving on, because now it's one of our favorite segments of the week, where Kevin and I pick the driver or rider who impressed us the most from across the racing world. Kevin, get us started. Who is your driver of the week or rider of the week?
Yeah, I'm going with Reddick again. I mean, those guys just put up another magical performance of, having the cool box go out early, coming in, changing the battery, going to the back of the field, driving all the way back to the front to pass Brad Keselowski for the lead. And, right here, you see just how dominant that 45 car was. So we're in the middle of a Cinderella story, I guess you could say, with Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin's 2311 team, and Tyler Reddick just all of a sudden becoming a megastar right in front of our eyes, winning 4 of the first 6 races.
I had so many kind of ideas going through my head this week. I thought Hocevar was super impressive. Corey Heim had a great week. Antonio Fuoco at Sebring, overcoming all those penalties late on in the race, winning his class. I mean, that was just an unbelievable final stint, an incredible drive. Max Verstappen, just jumping into a GT and together with his teammates winning. Okay, they had it taken away from them, but it was a brilliant weekend for them, an incredible drive. Felipe Nasr. And listen, this is a topic maybe for a future episode. I would love to see Felipe Nasr in IndyCar. He's on Penske's books. He has been for years. I want to see Nasr I want to see him in an IndyCar. I want to see him not just racing brilliantly in IMSA. I loved the kid when he was racing in Europe in GP2, which is now known as Formula 2. I think Nasr is an exceptional open-wheel driver, just as he has always proven himself to be a brilliant endurance driver. And he's won the 36 hours of California to start the season, with the 24 at Daytona and the 12 at Sebring. But for me, I didn't even pick anyone who won. I picked Mitch Evans, who started 16th, finished second at the FE race at Jarama in Madrid, finished 0.3 seconds off his teammate. I thought that was a great drive. Really, really great drive from Mitch. Jaguar 1-2 on the day. So, not even a race winner for me, but I thought P16 to P2, 0.3 off the win. Those are our picks, but this is just as much your show as it is ours. Every week, you can vote for your driver of the week across the Speed on Fox YouTube and social media channels. And this time, drum roll. Don't need a drum roll. You know who it is. We don't even need to tell you. Tyler Reddick, of course it is. I mean, I think this was the most dominant win of the year. What we look at, what's the percentages we've got there?
69% for Reddick. So, I mean, I think
it went
NASCAR,
down. I saw it when I saw it. It was 71% when I saw it earlier.
Yeah, Corey Heim second, Bez is third, and Evans in fourth. But everybody had their moment in the sun there. But Tyler Reddick takes the driver of the week.
I wonder. Do you know what? I wonder how different it would have been if we'd put Fuoco in there, or do you know what? If we put Verstappen in there, I wonder what would have happened. I wonder. We'll never know. Before we wrap things up, my friend, let's take a quick look at what's coming up across the racing world. Here's what you need to have on your radar in the next lap. NASCAR Cup Series heads to Martinsville Speedway, the shortest track on the calendar and one of the most physical, for a classic short track showdown Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. INDYCAR returns to the beautiful and tricky Barber Motorsports Park for the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, airing Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, live on Fox. MotoGP heads stateside for the Red Bull Grand Prix of the Americas with lights out Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox. And Formula One travels to the iconic Suzuka circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix going green Sunday at 1 a.m. Eastern. And in Detroit, Supercross continues its season with another high-intensity night of racing as riders battle for every inch of one of the toughest indoor tracks on the schedule. Finally, the IndyCar on Fox original docuseries All In officially hit the grid last week, and the debut was sublime. Produced by the team at Shadow Lion, the premiere goes behind the scenes and deep inside the paddock to watch the champion, Alex Palou, stamp his authority on the streets of St. Pete. Next up, in episode 2, the cameras head to the heart of Texas as the series rolls into Arlington. The series is raw, it is real, and having watched it, I think it perfectly captures the human drama that makes this sport so special. It's a really good watch, and they're short episodes. Really, it's not, you don't have to commit like a half hour, an hour to it. It's sort of like 10, 15 minutes. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's a very nicely produced series and produced in real time. The episode's coming just a week or two after the races themselves. You can catch them on the IndyCar on Fox YouTube channel. Kevin, it is shaping up to be a fantastic week/weekend of racing across the racing world. What are you most looking forward to?
Well, you're a lot like me. You love racing, and I love keeping up with pretty much everything that we cover on here. But two things that caught my attention this week. I want to see what the progression is for everybody compared to Mercedes on the F1 side. I think obviously Suzuka is a very traditional, difficult course to be able to figure out. but who can make up ground on Mercedes and put themselves in a position to be a little bit closer? So that one intrigues me. And can Hendrick get to victory lane at Martinsville? We know how much success that they have had there, and can they put themselves back in the mix as far as winning races and being a contender week in and week out by leading laps and dominating at a track that they've had so much success at?
I'm really excited by Suzuka as well. It's such a classic circuit, a lot of medium high-speed corners, and obviously that really long blast down into 130R, one of the most iconic corners in global motorsport. It's going to break my heart if they are having to lift and coast through 130R. But at the same time, if they are having to lift before 130R, are we going to see people either attempting to or being forced into making moves inside, outside? Could that be a flashpoint of you never want to see it? But if someone's suddenly lifting, it could be pretty bad going down into 130R. So let's see how that rolls out. I'm obviously also hugely excited about heading to Barber. Kyle Kirkwood has had an astonishing start to the season. We know he's the king of the streets. He came second on the oval at Phoenix. If he has got a car that is competitive on a road course as well, this could be an indicator that this is Kyle Kirkwood's season, and genuinely open season for someone to take this championship away from Alex Palou. So I'm very, very excited to see what package Andretti turn up with to Barber this weekend. It's going to be fascinating. But before we go, we always like to shine a light on something a little different. We call it Overtime, where Kevin and I highlight a moment that stood out to us, whether it's from the wider world of sport or one of the smaller series that deserve our attention. Kevin, what caught your eye, mate, this week?
Well, it's Cletus McFarlane. He went drag racing this weekend, got himself a quick time and a win in a couple different classes. But Cletus has some badass cars, and this car right here, I mean, look at that thing. I mean, just everything about it just screams cool, fast, and Cletus got it done with quick time and winning in a different class.
Love that. That's superb. That's absolutely superb. That guy is he's a rock star. Absolute rock star. So for me, I've been known to kind of give Formula E a bit of a kick sometimes because some of their street courses I consider to be a little bit too narrow for the size of the cars, and so the racing can look a bit clunky on them. But watching Formula E at Jarama, which I love that circuit. If anyone used to play the game Race Driver Grid on the PlayStation, racing a Jedi around Jarama was always one of my favorite things to do on that game. And this kind of it felt like that, super light and fast cars just blasting around a really cool old school road circuit in the heart of Spain near Madrid. Jarama is one of those great classic tracks. If INDYCAR ever goes to Europe, I'd love to see INDYCARs at Jarama. I think it would be so cool. But yeah, great to see Formula E at a track like Jarama. I thought that was Jarama. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. My Spanish is not great, and I've probably just offended loads of people unintentionally. So sorry for that. But yeah, great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Formula E is one of the most interesting things to me. I'm not an absolute huge fan of the electric car racing, but they absolutely put on some of the best races, and it's very different with the squeal of the tires and the howl of the battery and the drivetrain and everything that's happening. But the racing is good. I just can't get over the sound.
I know where you're coming from. One thing I will say for Formula E, whether you like the idea of electric racing or you hate the sound or whatever, I think they have an incredibly strong field of drivers. They're all drivers, pretty much all drivers that at one point or another I thought could have made it to Formula One. There's a bunch of drivers in there that I wish had gone over to INDYCAR, the likes of your Antonio Felix da Costas, Mitch Evans, Eduardo Mortaras. They're really, really great drivers, but they are making a very good living and loving their racing in Formula E, and more power to them.
That's right.
But yeah, hugely talented lineup. And that, folks, I think is all we've got for you on this episode. But there is still, of course, as always, plenty more to come this week. Coming up on Wednesday, we've got a fantastic interview lined up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. And if you're enjoying the show, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, and jump into the comments section to let us know what you thought and what you want to see next. Thanks to our friends at Poet. Poet produces high-octane bioethanol, delivering maximum performance with zero carbon intensity. You can't beat zero. Kevin, I'm Will. Thanks for watching Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet. Send you out, as always, with the best wrecks of the week.
Oh, here we go. Wreck here. Kyle Sieg. Going to be caution number 3. Oh, hard hit there.
Got to think there's some oil on the track right there for those guys to wreck.
But we got one on the wall. Straight into the fence.
He is now out of this Grand Prix. His miserable start to 2026 continues.
It's another double DNS.
I'm sure he's in the wall.
Hang on here, man. Lock it down. Lock it down. Lock it down. Don't slide back up.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously more happening back there than he probably realizes. Oh, we got one around right behind him, though. Riley Herbst into the inside wall.